At this time, I'd like to call to the order to the meeting. Would we everyone please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance? Our first order of business is the swearing in of the mayor and commission officers. If you have been newly elected, can you please rise and come to the center? The clerk will be back momentarily to start. You can also, if you have anybody up here that you want to have standing behind you as a supporter, please feel free. They're also welcome to come stand with you. And there, I will yield the rest of the meeting over to his ability to lead.
Now that it's official, I just have a statement I'd like to give before we start the meeting. So good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be before you tonight as the newly elected mayor of Bay City. First and foremost, I want to thank the residents of this incredible city for placing your trust in me. This is a responsibility I do not take lightly. I am deeply committed to serving each of you with integrity, transparency, and unwavering dedication. Bay City is a community with a rich history, strong traditions, and even stronger people. From our dynamic neighborhoods to our distinctive downtown, from our schools to our small businesses, we are a city filled with potential and pride. My role as mayor is to build on this foundation, to listen, to lead, and to ensure that every voice in our city is heard and valued. Tonight, as we gather to look forward to the future, I want to take a moment to reflect and honor those contributions of those who have brought us to where we are today. I want to extend a heartfelt gratitude to the outgoing commissioners that we recognized last month for their service to the city. Each of them had worked tirelessly to represent their wards, navigate challenges, and make decisions with the best interests of the city in mind. Their commitment to public service has left a lasting impact on the city, and we owe them a thanks and gratitude. Tonight, I want to outline the guiding principles and priorities that will shape my leadership working with the new and continuing commissioners. First, building relationships, not barriers. I'd like to see the city focused on collaboration. We must work together, community members, the county, neighboring jurisdictions, city officials, business leaders, and educators to address the challenges and opportunities ahead. In addition, I want to hold regular forums, including exploring the implementation of forming a new youth city council, to hear from all generations about what they envision for our future here. Also want to strengthen our infrastructure. It's no secret that our roads and infrastructure need attention. As your mayor, I'm committed to work with the commission and other legislative leaders to secure funding, prioritize repairs, and ensure that our city is a safe and efficient place to live and work. In addition, we also need to invest in other critical city infrastructure, including our police and fire stations, looking at creative solutions to provide a safe environment for our first responders. I want to look at investing in our neighborhoods. Our city is defined by its people and the places we call home. From affordable housing initiatives to beautification projects, I will work to ensure that every neighborhood feels supported, valued, connected to the broader community. Prioritizing the needs of our existing residents is of great importance to me, and I hope that we will work together to make our community where residents feel they are partners in our governance, not an afterthought. Fostering economic growth, Bay City is a home to innovative entrepreneurs, dedicated workers, and growing industries. I also hope to see the city focus on supporting those existing businesses for economic growth, along with supporting partners such as Bay Future for the development of new businesses, supporting local enterprises, and creating jobs that sustain families and drive economic progress. And lastly, I want to prioritize transparency and accountability. I believe that government works best when it's open and accountable. I will work with the commission and city staff to ensure that residents are informed about the decisions we make, and will always welcome your input, ideas, and constructive feedback. As we begin this journey together, I ask for your continued engagement, to share your ideas, express your concerns, and join me in working towards a shared vision for our community. I also want to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of Mayor Newsham, who we recognized last meeting, and she served this city with distinction. Her leadership has set a strong example. In addition, I also want to acknowledge Mayor Dockett, who filled in admirably during that time he was called into service. Finally, I want to thank my wife, Molly, my children, my grandchildren, my grandparents, my brother, and his wife, and all my family. Their tireless support and love is what drives me, and they inspire me to work tirelessly every day for the future of this city. Bay City, the road ahead is one of promise and opportunity. Together, we will tackle challenges, celebrate successes, and build a community that we are proud to call home. All right, commissioners, now it's time. Let's get to work. Let's move this thing forward. That, we'd like to do a roll call.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Coakley.
Here.
Obershaw.
Here.
Tenney.
Here.
Hilliker.
Here.
DeWitt.
Present.
Rumberg.
Present.
Charlebois. Morris.
Here.
And Mr. Mayor.
Present. All right. First order of business is the election of our commission officers. So the nominations are now open for the position of City Commission President. Are there nominations for President? Commissioner Hilliker,
I nominate Stephen Prince for president.
do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Are there other nominations for President? Commissioner Coakley, did I see your hand up?
Didn't know if it needed to be seconded or not.
Nope, not for that particular. All right, are there any other nominations for Commission President? Commissioner Charlebois.
I'd like to nominate my Alex DeWitt here to my right.
Commissioner DeWitt, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
All right, thank you. So there's two nominees. Are there any other nominations for Commission President? All right, seeing none, nominations are closed for the office of City Commission President. So we're going to take a roll call vote on the first person nominated. So that person, if they receive the majority of votes, they will be elected. So if we could do a roll call vote on Commissioner Prince for Commission President.
Commissioner Coakley.
Yes.
Obershaw.
First off, it's Bernie Obershaw, please. Can we note that in our records, please? Commissioner Bernie Obershaw. That's my name, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Tenney.
Yes.
Hilliker.
Yes.
DeWitt.
No.
Rumberg.
Yes.
Charlebois.
No.
Morris.
Yes.
And Prince.
Yes.
7 yes, 2 no.
Okay, with that, he has the required number of votes, so we now have a commission president, Commissioner Prince. Congratulate him. All right, nominations are now open for the City Commission Vice President. Are there nominations for Vice President? All right, Commissioner Runberg.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner DeWitt.
Commissioner DeWitt, do you accept?
I do.
Thank you. Are there other nominations for Commissioner Vice President? Any other nominations? Commissioner Hilliker.
I nominate Commissioner Rumberger. Said your name wrong, I'm so sorry.
Runberg.
Rumberger.
Commissioner Runberg, do you accept?
Yes.
All right. We have two nominations. Are there any other nominations for Commissioner Vice President? All right, seeing none, we will vote on Commissioner DeWitt as the first nominee for Commission Vice President.
Commissioner Bernie Obershaw.
Yes.
Tenney.
Yes.
Hilliker.
No.
DeWitt.
Yes.
Rumberg.
Yes.
Charlebois.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Prince.
Yes.
Coakley.
Yes.
8 yes, 1 no.
All right, congratulations, Commissioner DeWitt. You are now the Commission Vice President. All right, the final nominations are open for the position of Sergeant of Arms for the City Commission. Are there nominations for Sergeant of Arms? Commissioner Bernie Overshaw.
Coakley.
Commissioner Coakley, do you accept?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there other nominations for Sergeant of Arms? Commissioner Morris.
Nominate Commissioner Runberg for Sergeant of Arms.
Do you accept?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you. Is there any other nominations for Sergeant of Arms? Seeing none, we'll vote in the order of nominations. Commissioner Coakley would be the first we vote on.
Yes.
Commissioner Tenney,
Yes.
Hilliker,
Yes.
DeWitt,
No.
Rumberg,
No.
Charlebois,
No.
Morris,
No.
Prince,
Yes.
Coakley,
Yes.
and Bernie Obershaw.
Yes.
5 yes, 4 no.
All right, with that, it is a majority of votes, 5. So congratulations, we have a new Sergeant of Arms, Commissioner Coakley. All right, so under presentations, we have Mr. Streeter here from the Good Samaritan Rescue. Oh, there he is. Come on up, Mr. Streeter. He's going to give us a presentation tonight on the proposed drop-in center that's on tonight's agenda. We just need to make sure the button's pressed.
Right there? Now can you hear me? Perfect. Dan Streeter with Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan, and want to give you a little bit of information on some things that we have been working on for just about the last year as we are trying to help provide services for another group in our community that desperately need help. So in the state of Michigan last year, over 33,000 people experienced homelessness. The year before that, in our state, it was about 32,705, a 2% increase of homelessness in the state. It's a trend that we're concerned that we're going to continue to see. At Good Samaritan here locally, so you have a little bit of perspective as to the effects here in Bay County, we had 673 residents that came through the doors of Good Samaritan last year, for an average of 82 people per night. We do see sometimes spikes that happen, but we've been running at full capacity for a long period of time. And in fact, last night we had 95 people that stayed with us. We've also worked hard over the last several years to help combat youth homelessness within our area. But before I go into that, I also want to stress I've been involved with fighting homelessness here in Bay County for 19 years, and it's been my career as well here in this region for 32 years with Rescue Ministries of Mid-Michigan. A lot of times when Good Samaritan was first opened up, it was concern that we might be bringing a homeless problem from other areas into this area. But the reality is that there is a definitive and a very critical need here in this area of people that are suffering. Myriad of reasons as to why that is. But as we've looked at statistics over the last 19 years, 60% of those that receive services at Good Samaritan Rescue Mission are residents of the city. 70% are county residents, Bay County residents. And then we see about a 10% that come from south of Bay City, of Bay County. And then another 20% that are east and west of Bay County and northward. So we are helping people, but at the core, there are people here locally that are struggling. Some of the primary issues that cause this are substance abuse, mental illness, and a big portion of this as well is poverty. As I was looking at different statistics, 211 receives a lot of calls to help people who are in need. The biggest area, the top reason that people called was because they had housing instability. They were making housing inquiries. Affordable housing is an all-time low. So as all this is happening, we're seeing more and more people that are starting to experience homelessness outside of the shelter setting. And it was something that we started to see people that maybe they were living in abandoned buildings, living in areas that maybe staying overnight in storefronts. And so it started to become more of a public concern, and so we started having public meetings last spring to start to talk about the issue, to brainstorm about the issue, and it was a myriad of city staff and concerned individuals, other nonprofits, as well as public safety. And as we dug deeper into the issue, I knew of a mission similar to ours down in the Lansing area, the City Rescue Mission of Lansing, that had also been working on this issue and had been successfully working on a program for the last 4 years that we went and we investigated. Now, even before that, we've not only provided the shelter setting, but we've also been looking and involved with chronic homeless outreach and trying to help gain other ground in helping to provide and resolve homelessness. What was innovative to us and interesting about what the Lansing Rescue Mission was, it was helping to meet people in a different way than what we had heard in the past. And it didn't make logical sense at first to me, but there was a group of us from here locally that got into a bus and we went down and we saw it firsthand and we talked with their director. And as we saw it, it made a whole lot more sense about engaging with people who are in a volatile spot, who are struggling, who will not come into a shelter setting but need help. And they call it an overnight drop-in center. In the city of Lansing, they've seen about 60 to 80 people on any given night that will come in and receive services. One of the key things in learning about this is that we're not trying to take people who are struggling and being marginalized, who are struggling with mental illness and substance abuse, who see it better fit to be out into the elements than to come in to a shelter setting. And so it doesn't make logical sense, but we are doing this new level of outreach to these individuals and propose trying to have a site at Good Samaritan Rescue Mission where we would take about 2,000 square feet at the southern part of our building, renovate that, and have opening hours where anybody could come in, renovate the space for 35 spots. It would not be about sheltering at night. It would not be about sleeping accommodations, but it would be about providing a safe place that they could come in every night, no rules. The only rules is that you don't bring a weapon in and that you don't bring drugs into the facility. But other than that, you could come in, you could sit, get a sack lunch, do your laundry, and have a safe place or a shower as well, that you could be able to come in and get services, so then that way you don't have to continue to live out in the elements. What's been amazing as we've watched this transpire in the city of Lansing is that people who would normally not connect to services have been stabilized. We've seen them be able to secure housing because they now can be engaged with on a consistent basis because housing service providers know where they're going to find them. We've seen them engage and get mental health stability because, once again, providers know that there's a safe place and a place that they're consistently going to be at, and they can engage with them. And so it's a little bit different. It's a little bit innovative. It's a unique way to be able to try to help provide services, but we believe it's the next step that is needed here in Bay County, and it's something that we've also been talking about trying to do in Saginaw County as well. Lansing isn't the only place. There's also a drop-in center also in Detroit. That's where they learned this pattern as well. So we are seeing a new and establishing pattern of engaging with people who are at risk in trying to provide quality services. You know, once again, it's something that even if we were to say yes tonight that this is an acceptable plan, that there is the groundwork that's got to be done. We've already been securing works from contractors as to what it would cost to do this and what it would take for staffing to be able to pull this off. But it would be through the approval process and doing all the things for the funding, it would probably take about 90 days to do all the due diligence with the city for funds. And then it would take probably about another 30 to 60 days for renovations to take place. So even if something was said yes tonight, we're talking about services that wouldn't be able to be provided until May or June of this year. So this is what we are proposing, an overnight drop-in center, and asking that the city help consider funding. Community block grant would be used for the capital expenditures, as we have talked with city staff, and then also proposing to take some of the marijuana tax funds and to be able to use that for the operational support to staff such a facility. So I'd open it up to any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Streeter. I appreciate the presentation. Mr. Coakley first, and then Commissioner Bernie Overshaw.
Thank you for coming tonight. Couple quick questions on this. Did you say 70% is county-wide?
Correct.
Have you been to the county, reached out to them for any funding, or are we here just to have the city do 100% of that funding?
Not yet at this point. That would be part of the discussion for ongoing, is to also talk with the county.
Okay, and with this drop-in center, just to reaffirm, no questions asked, just come, and I'm trying to envision your layout. Is it gonna be separated rooms, gonna be cots laying out?
So there's
What
a
floor
wing.
plan do you have?
Yeah, there's a wing that's a very southern part. It overlooks Bernie Park, and so that would be a separate entrance into the facility, and it would be very simplistic floors that would have a 4x4 square area that each individual would have their own space. They could bring all their belongings in with them as long as they stayed within that 4x4 square space. We'll dim the lights, so then that way if somebody wanted to, we'll have chairs that'll be provided in that space, so if somebody wanted to sleep in that chair during that time, they could do that. We'll be handing out meals during that time, but we'll also engage with those that want engagement. So we've been working and discussing with Bay Area Behavioral Health about having a consistent schedule to come out and engage with people for mental illness. We would do the same thing medically, have the medical bus that would come there just like we do with all of our residents, as well as the local HARA, Mid-Michigan Community Action Agency, to come and talk with individuals and sign them up for a housing choice voucher or to be able to get rent assistance. So all the things that we do for our guests who reside at the Mission, all the case management that happens, that we would also be trying to provide it for individuals that wanted to. But they could come in repeated nights. If they don't want case management and all they want is just a safe spot, then that's all they have to do that night. The only other rule that we'd have, we would open it at 8 p.m. and then close at 8 a.m. so it could be there for them overnight. Once they leave the facility, they couldn't come back in. So once you're in, you can come in at 10 o'clock at night, you can come in at 11 o'clock at night, whatever time you come in is what would be allowed. But once you check out for the night, then you couldn't come back in again.
Another thing I'm sort of looking for is when they're there, are we gonna, give them the help to find jobs, to find a home, to, get rehab if needed and or wanted? I want to try to fix the problem, to eliminate the problem. And if we're going to spend money, that's what I would like it to go to. And that's just my 2 cents on that. I just don't want to keep on repeating and repeating and repeating. I would like the problem to go away and help fix it. And if I'm here to send money somewhere, I want it to go to getting the problem and resolving the problem.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. Until we have a society that doesn't have poverty, we won't ever get rid of the problem. But as for effectiveness, when you take a look at what Good Samaritan has provided for homeless individuals in this area, the average length of stay in the state of Michigan is 78 days. Somebody walks into a shelter anywhere within the state, the average length of stay is 78 days. At Good Samaritan, it's 53 days. Now, along with that, we have a recidivism rate that also is better than what the state is. In other words, people having to come back for a second visit within the next 12 months. Across the state of Michigan, that is 17%, that people that are in a shelter have to come back to a shelter. At Good Samaritan, it's 2.5%. And then the more important part is the positive exits. So making sure that we're working with individuals through life skill classes and parenting support classes, and making sure that they have the material goods, and also a program we call Impact Design, so that way when they get their home, that we help them with all the furnishings and fully stage that home for them so it feels like home for them. So our positive exits in the state, it's 27%. For us, it's 50.8%. And so we're basically being twice as effective as other shelters across the state of Michigan. For those that participate in our Impact Designs program, that number of staying stably housed goes from about a 50% success rate to a 93% success rate because they've committed the time and the effort. So every individual that's available for, we want to engage with them. What the drop-in center will allow us to do is people who have avoided engagement and don't want engagement, lets them come into a safe environment with no questions asked, and then when they're ready to engage, then we're going to be ready to fully engage and give them everything we possibly could.
Getting a tour, what would I have to do to stop by and somebody will walk me through if I wanted to see what was going on now?
I'd love to, if you could shoot me an email, then I would love to be able to walk you through the facility and let you see what we're talking about, or if we wanted to organize the commissioners to see it firsthand, we'd love to do that as well.
That's all for me, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bernie Overshaw.
Hello, Mr. Streeter. Do you remember me?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay, 2018 through 2023, the CDBG gave you funding. Could you tell me what the Labadee Lofts are, and are they being used right now?
Yes, they are being used, but so there's two different sources of funding. Community block grant funding that we've received for the last several years has been for utilities. So to help provide a warm place and showers and all the food that we need. So that's one way that the city has helped over the years. So about $30,000 to $35,000 over that period of time each year that they've helped with utilities and providing a safe place for those seeking shelter. Labadee Lofts is a different project, and that was home ARP dollars that was slated towards permanent housing. So we worked on a capital campaign to renovate that space, which had been Bay Academy, and created 10 permanent housing rental apartments where we could engage with young people who have struggled with homelessness. They've come through the foster care system or were experienced homelessness themselves. But that's a rental situation, and so totally different from the CBDG funding that we received.
Okay. When we talked and you gave me this tour at the time, we talked about the CDBG funding that it added up to from 2018 to 2023, I think it was like $3 million or something like that. It was a large amount of money. You're telling me that you use that for electricity and that sort of thing? Because the CDBG money was to be used for rehabilitations for homes and things like that for the lower to moderate income people. So, I'm just wondering, when I walked into the Labadee Lofts, it was vacant, and I was not very happy with the situation. I recently was there, and there was no one there but next door, the Dowd place. So my question to you is why, if we have given you this amount of money, why are the unhoused people not living in this building? And my second question, when I asked you if we were going to have these out of adoption, out of foster care, young people, young adults, who was going to be there with them, you said that it was under another ministries or whatever, and that you were going to have Samaritan come next door. All I'm saying is that why can't we put our unhoused people, instead of them sleeping in a lobby, if we've given you $3 million in that building?
Yeah, let me help clear up a couple of things for you. So first, the city hasn't given us $3 million over any period of time if you were to add it all up. So with each source of federal funding comes with very specific criteria that you have to fulfill. So let's focus first on community block grant funding. So the city gets an allocation every year, and there are ways that they have to spend that out, and part of it is for operational, like what we do at Good Samaritan Rescue Mission. So the city, for probably the last 10 years, have given us $30,000 to $35,000 annually. We declare in advance what that's going towards. We submit a letter to the city for what that is going towards. And then we have to show billings and justification and that people actually stayed with us. So we have to remain in compliance. So it's never exceeded $35,000 annually in what has been given, and it's been totally for utilities. As for your site visit happened a couple years ago when we first opened up Labadee Lofts, and it was a brand new project, and at that point, no, it wasn't fully funded because no apartment complex is going to be fully full when it first opens. You have to find tenants, you have to sign them onto a lease, and then you have to get them to pay rent, and then they come in. So in a very short period of time, yes, we did have full occupancy, and tonight we have full occupancy of young people between the ages of 18 to 22, just like the funding that we secured, that was home ARP dollars, and that helped in the renovations of that project. It was a one-time disbursement of funding, along with all the other grant funding that we did for that project. So that's fully funded at that point. Our Good Samaritan, our youth shelter staff that we use floats between oversight of Labadee Lofts and the Dowd House and the youth shelter. And so they're helping take care of all of those at one time. So it's quite effective in that way. But there's no way, because those rooms are occupied, it was totally for permanent housing. We could not put homeless individuals into those space. We would be in violation of that federal contract in order to do that. So it has to stay for a rental situation. We can't change that person. We can't change that purpose for 15 years.
My other question was, at the time, are you saying that, like I said, we had a meeting last year and we talked about the CDBG money that we had gave you, and I think it was me and President Dockett, it was over $100,000, and it had went to Labadee Lofts. And as I'm going to say again, why has there not been any, there's vacancies there, and I would like to know, why has there not been any openings for unhoused people? If we're going to give you this $250,000 or put together $400,000 and people have to sleep on the ground, I'm just not understanding this, Mr. Streeter.
I can understand why it would be difficult.
We've invested a lot of money in this
situation.
project with you. And I mean, years and years of this money, and we're not getting any really true answers of where has the money went. So I don't know if I'm really kind of sold on where you're spending the money. So I don't know if I'm gonna, I think we need more looking into this, what you're doing with the money and how the CDBG is even involved. How we've been giving you this money, because with the Samaritan, you're government funded. So when people come there, they get the government pays, as soon as they come through the door, the government pays them money. They issue you a check. And so if they don't stay their amount of time or they do something, they get put out. So when they get put out, you're still paid for that. Say the government pays you $5,000 or say $1,000 when that person steps through the door. That person is caught smoking or drinking, they are asked to leave. So then when someone comes in their place, you get paid again. So it's like ship them in, ship them out. So you're getting paid a lot of money, but in the same token, we're getting homeless people back and forth. So like I said, we really need to look into this, because it's like you're shipping in cattle, and it's just not fair to a lot of people. So thank you.
I think you have a lot of perceptions that I'm not sure how you get to them, but what can happen for anybody is what you could do is go to our website. We do an annual audit every year where every dollar that comes in is audited, whether it's a federal dollar, whether it's a state dollar, or whether it's a donated dollar. And we also yield our information over to Charity Navigator, and they do a thorough look at everything that we do. And we've been given their highest rating for financial integrity. So it's extremely important to us to make sure that when a dollar is donated, when a dollar is given to us, when we sign a contract, that people can know in good conscience that that is what it's going to be spent for. And so it would be a huge concern. It would be a huge concern to say that there's a misappropriation of funds and that it's just because it's not understood how the funds are being, to misconstrue and to say that we're not spending them correctly would be a disservice to the work that's happening.
All right, thank you. Mr. Charlevoix. Commissioner.
Yes, I would like to know, is the full $400,000 for renovations, or is part of that for operating?
So the $250,000 that would be slated would come from community block grant funding. And because of the stipulations of that funding, it can only go towards the capital expenditures of the project.
Is that enough money to do the project, $250,000?
Correct, because we've worked with Serenas Johnson Construction to give us a quote for what it would take to be able to do that. And so that part is locked in, and then the $150,000 would go towards operational support. So 12 months of being able to provide and staff.
Is that like staff, and does that include things like utilities and things like that?
Food and all those, yes, and the engagement that would happen.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner. All right, Commissioner Prince.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate the work you do. It's incredibly important to our community. I have about 5 questions. They should be relatively quick, but I'll read them, and then if you want to give an answer after each one. The drop-in center, is it also going to be a cooling center during the summer months?
So it would be open 365 days out of the year, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And so it doesn't matter what the weather is, hot, cold, anybody can come in from 8 p.m. till 8 a.m.
Okay, wonderful. What is the capacity expected to be?
So if we were to take a look at a comparison to what the city of Lansing, the population of the city of Lansing is similar to what Saginaw and Bay City is combined. So we have intent to try to also open up a similar center in the city of Saginaw. And so we have space allocated for 35 spots. We would figure somewhere between 25 to 35 will come in and take advantage of that space. So we believe the 35 would be adequate for what the need is in the community.
Wonderful. And are you going to be tracking and collecting data for who comes in? And on top of that, how are you going to protect their privacy?
So every person who comes through receiving shelter services participates in what we call the HMIS system. It's all across the state, that shelters all across the state that are receiving funding participate in. Obviously, the guests who stay there have to be willing to give that information over. And so sometimes it's not the full contingent of information. But for those that are willing to participate, then we have a full documented information. And that's how we can know where people originated from and then try to track the effectiveness of programming. So we participate with that fully, and it's a very robust data collection system that we would be doing.
And then you said you're open from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., correct? What happens if it comes to 8 a.m., it's closing, and there's a blizzard outside, and these folks then have to go outside into a blizzard? I mean, is there any accommodation for a situation like that?
Yeah, if there's a life and death kind of situations like that, then we would definitely use some more common sense on that. But it would also be contingent on trying to staff it as well.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Tenney and then Commissioner DeWitt.
Thank you for being here and for the work that you do in the community. I'll try to err on the side of brevity. When you talk about barriers to being housed, I agree with all of that and then some, but there are also barriers to getting into a shelter sometimes, right? One of them at your guys' shelter right now being if you have a history of criminal sexual conduct, then you have to go up to the north side of Saginaw and stay at the RCO men's shelter, right? So when you say that there's no rules to entering, aside from no guns, or no weapons, excuse me, no weapons, no drugs, would that also exclude folks that have a record of CSCs?
So this would, that would be available for those that would have that, because there's not the mixing of population like what we have with the shelter setting. There is that chance where people are passing each other in the hallways. With this, it's going to be at the south part of our building. It'll be secured from the rest of the facility, and so they would not have access. All the services would take place in that 2,500 square foot area. And so whatever that situation may be in a person's history, they would be able to come in and spend the night there.
Understood. And then, just to play devil's advocate, follow-up question, are children and families going to be welcomed into the drop-in center?
So we'll get them in out of the elements at that time, but then we'll try to get them placed into a shelter setting, because that's really that would not be appropriate for kids to stay in the overnight drop-in center. It's intended for single adults. And, but maybe a husband and wife or two people that are together might come in, and so they could come in those circumstances. But when kids get involved, that would not be considered safe shelter, and so then we would get them placed into sheltering as soon as we have a spot open.
That makes absolute sense to me. I appreciate you clarifying that other side of it. And then the only other thing that I had as far as questions go, I'll save comments for the actual discussion there. You mentioned Bay Aranac Behavioral Health. In the actual resolution, there's nothing officially tying you to BABH. Is that accurate? There's nothing official in this agreement?
Correct.
Okay, I appreciate you clarifying. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Commissioner DeWitt.
Yeah, I have more for the actual discussion later. But one thing I have is that 4x4 was tested in other locations. You said no sleeping accommodations. Would that be more modular sizing? Because that seems very restrictive, even for someone who's just coming in for just a slide in for a couple hours to do some laundry.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of logical sense. And in fact, even as I dealt with the leaders of the City Rescue Mission and their experiences, you're dealing with people that have a lot of severe mental health issues. That's the majority of these individuals, as well as substance abuse issues and crossover. And so they're just looking for a safe spot. They are not necessarily looking for a spot to sleep. And when you brought sleep into the element, what would happen is that as soon as anything would disrupt that person from their sleep, then you have a major event that would happen. And there would be more protection of space. But what they found, based in the psychology of these individuals, that when the expectation is only you have that 4x4 space, sitting in the chair, you can do whatever you want over this 12-hour period. If you want to do your laundry, you can do that. We'll dim the lights. We make it quiet for everybody and reflective. If you want to go take a shower, you can do that. We'll help facilitate all that. Or if you want to just sit in your chair. It's not about a socialization time. It's not focused on sleeping. And when you remove those elements, then everybody cohabits together peacefully and safely. But when people come in with other expectations, then that's what usually causes the major disruptions.
That's all I have for him right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else? Commissioner Runberg.
Thank you for coming in, Mr. Streeter. Just a real quick one. I'm not sure how we'd be able to accommodate it, given people have, personal protection of their personal property and whatnot, but would there be any way of having like a charging station so these individuals could charge their phones and things like that?
That is definitely a part of the plan. In this era, we have to definitely have charging stations, and so that would also be available.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? I'll just be real brief. I know during this past summer, I talked to a lot of people, and they do have some concerns about folks that are unhoused. And so I think while this isn't perfect, I think it's going to meet some immediate needs as soon as they can get this rolling. I think there's some time element to this because the clock doesn't start ticking until we actually vote to move forward if that's what the commission decides to do. I appreciate Mr. Streeter for coming in and giving this presentation. I think the reaching out and the development of working with other agencies, I know Barrick was mentioned, and I'm fortunate enough, I serve as a board member there, and I know there's interest in supporting and making sure that these folks' needs are treated. So definitely, I think this is a good project for our community, and I know the community is behind supporting, helping these people. So that's all I have. All right, next order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Do any members of the commission wish to add an item to the agenda? Commissioner DeWitt.
I do. I passed this out to everyone when I got here, and I will read it for the record once the clerk is ready. Be it resolved that effective immediately, all previously delisted commission recordings done live on YouTube be relisted going back as far as the channel still has recordings. Be it further resolved that all city postings on YouTube have embedding enabled for reference by the media and individuals as if they were in the chamber using personal recording equipment as permitted by the state of Michigan. Be it further resolved that the city's policy of delisting live videos on the YouTube after 6 months be eliminated. And be it further resolved that the city staff work on audio and/or video recording of all meetings subject to the Open Meetings Act to be uploaded to the city YouTube under the same standard and present or give documentation for a plan of compliance by the end of fiscal year 24-25.
All right, is there a second on the proposed amendment to the adoption agenda? Commissioner Runberg.
A second.
All right, will the clerk please call the roll on the amendment to the agenda?
Commissioner Hilliker.
And we're currently just voting to add this to the agenda?
Yes. Yeah, there'll be a
If
discussion
there's a
on the
second,
item.
but no against, do we need to do a roll call?
Yes, on this one.
All right, sure, yeah.
Commissioner DeWitt.
Yes.
Runberg.
Yes.
Charlebois.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Prince.
Yes.
Coakley.
Yes.
Bernie Obershaw.
Yes.
Tenney.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, that item has been added to the agenda. Anything else to be added on tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the agenda as amended? This is our motion. All right, Commissioner Runberg.
Motion to, that's the words I'm looking for, but to add that to the amendment. Or to,
We'll move the consent agenda
Thank you.
items as adopted.
Just to adopt the agenda.
just to adopt agenda, yes.
Is there,
Motion to adopt agenda.
is there support?
Second.
All right, could you please call the roll on the adoption of the agenda?
Commissioner DeWitt.
Yes.
Runberg.
Yes.
Charlebois.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Prince.
Yes.
Coakley.
Yes.
Bernie Obershaw.
Yes.
Tenney.
Yes.
Hilliker.
Yes.
9 yes.
All right, the agenda has been, for this evening has been adopted. All right, next order of business is the consent agenda. Do any members of the commission wish to make a change to the consent agenda? Seeing none, next order of business calls for public input on the consent agenda. This is the opportunity for citizens to remove an item from the consent for consideration on the regular agenda. If anyone in the audience wishes to make a change to that agenda, please come forward to the microphone, sign the registration sheet, state your name and address for the record, and the item you wish to have considered on the regular agenda. Okay, seeing no one come forward, is there a motion on the consent agenda? Commissioner Hilliker.
Move to approve?
Second.
Oh, who said that? I'm sorry, I didn't call on anybody. Oh, Commissioner Tenney. Second. All right, thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on adoption of the consent agenda?
Commissioner Runberg.
Yes.
Charlebois.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Prince.
Yes.
Coakley.
Yes.
Bernie Obershaw.
Yes.
Tenney.
Yes.
Hilliker.
Yes.
DeWitt.
Yes.
9 yes.
The consent agenda has been approved. Next order of business calls for remarks of the mayor and the commission. Do any commissioners have comments tonight? Commissioner Bernie Obershaw.
I have a question for city manager. Last year, I asked for you to have the question for me about the tolling money. I asked you about the $5 million you sold the bridge for back in 2020. And we got half of that funding money, and the other half was supposed to come, this was back in September, I think I asked you. And you replied the money was going to come soon. So when the money did come, you said that you had put the money aside, we were going to talk about it probably a few weeks later. Okay, now a few weeks is into, it's January 2025. Where's the money?
The commission discussed this, the past commission, that they were going to wait until the current sitting commission, the commissioners that are here tonight, to discuss what to do with that money. The money is in the exact same place it was last year and the year before. We have it in a separate bank account to spend, but it was the decision of the past commission to wait till this current commission is seated to have that discussion.
Okay, I just don't understand why you listen to yourself say the things you do. You sat here in this chair.
Commissioner Overshaw, Bernie Overshaw, could, let's just be respectful. That's all I ask you, just ask questions, be respectful. I'm going to ask everybody to do that.
Okay. I'm going to ask you put it like this. When we talked about the money back in September, and 2 weeks later, the money came in. And I asked you about the $2.5 million. You first said to me that we, the commission, had already ruled that we were going to use the money for something. I said to you, I didn't rule on anything. And you said yes. And so when the other agenda came out, there was another agenda attached to it. And it said that we were going to talk about it again at another meeting. So when the next meeting came in, we didn't talk about it. You said the money was put into another fund. Is that correct?
So I add,
point of order. I'm
no, actually,
talking to point of order.
It actually is the mayor's meeting, so hold on a minute. Let me if I could just, with all due respect, explain, because I have a little insight. When I was elected to the commission in 2019 and the decision was made, I actually brought forward the resolution that allocated those funds that would be coming from the bridge partners into a separate infrastructure fund. And that was passed by the commission in 2020. So that's what told Ms. Muscat where to put the funding to. And so it was set aside at that point. This body will have the opportunity, Commissioner Cook, this body will then have the decision. You can be part of that decision to spend the money. So that's just a clarification. Commissioner Coakley.
Just to be clear, we have $5 million to allocate that's available to this commission, plus about $900,000 on CBD money to spend. So that's available for us to decide, and that was passed. So we have
Yes. So Commissioner Bernie Abershaw, you can be part of that deciding process.
So when you say it's somewhere else, it's just basically in a bank.
Yeah, and it's reported in our audit. We talk about it in our
getting interest
budgets.
for us.
Yes.
So we have that money.
Yes.
So as a commission, we can decide
Correct.
within this month if we want to
Absolutely.
where it's going to go.
Okay, now,
Is that helpful? Is that helpful?
Mayor Gerard, I mean, the point is that when I'm talking and asking questions, it is Robert's rule that I am allowed to talk. You are not to talk over me and stop me. Robert's rules said this, a chairperson, I am not swearing at her. I am not talking down to her. That is Robert's rule. Point of order. I am asking her a question. You are not supposed to talk over me and stop me. I'm not harassing her. I'm going to ask her a question. You said the money was put aside. Did you not?
Yes.
WNEM TV, you stood on there and you said $1.5 million we were giving to the affordable housing on Columbus Avenue, and that when they were building that. What I want to know is if we were helping the county with this affordable housing building that's going to be built on Columbus Avenue, where did the $1.5 million come? And where's our 2 million? If we have 2 million, but it's put aside, we are donating the $1.4 million to affordable housing. Where are we getting all this money, is what I want to know.
You're mixing funds. We have $5 million set aside from the bridges. The other fund that you're talking about, let me finish, please, from the Housing Commission is part of the CDBG, home funds, all of that. That is totally 2 separate funds that you're trying to mix. We did not take bridge funds and put them into any housing developments in the city, not 1 penny.
Okay, now, when we got the 5 million, you said here, and we got half of that money already. We got half of it. You just said we had 5 million. No, we got the half of the $5 million already. They gave us that. Am I wrong? Did we get half of that $5 million?
It came in 2 installments, but we have $5 million.
Okay, you said that we were going to have the other 2 million that was coming in. Am I correct?
Commissioner, I don't know. You've asked this question so many times, and respectfully, I'm telling you, we have $5 million.
What do you mean you don't know? Answer.
I am answering you. We have $5 million from the bridge lease.
If we have the $5 million, why don't we have the money for the homeless people? Why are we giving them $250,000? Why are we not giving more money? Why?
Because the seated commission at the time did a resolution that those funds would be used for road projects in the city. I do not make those decisions. The commission makes those decisions. It's not up to me where that funding is going. We have $5 million set aside in the budget for this commission to decide where those funds go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes. I just want to remind folks, and I'll get to folks, this body, you have the power. I mean, if you want to make that $5 million go towards whatever, you have the authority to do that, write a resolution, get 5 votes, and get it passed. That's really where the authority goes. Mr. Charlevoix, and then...
Can I speak to anything right now?
You can. This is remarks of the commission. Just
checking. Okay, I just wanted to say if we're spending, one time we're spending $250,000 that, one-time thing, maybe in the future we could look into helping with long-term sober living, safe recovery, transitional housing, safe recovery, sober living, those coming out of rehabilitation to a safe environment as they return into society, and those kinds of things in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I got to get this order down. Commissioner DeWitt, did you?
All right, I'm going to rapid fire some. I'll start with sort of where we were. For the Manchester City Manager, is that $5 million in an interest-bearing account?
It is.
Do you know the approximate rate on that?
I'd have to ask our fiscal services director. He'd have to look. We can get you that information, Commissioner.
Can I get the same thing for the marijuana fund account?
That is not in a separate account.
But is it also interest-bearing? That's what I'm looking for. Like, is it also earning?
George, you want to come up and talk?
Good morning, good afternoon, evening. For the most part, all city funds are invested in various different securities. We have sweep accounts that take pretty much all of our excess funds on a daily basis and get those into short-term investments. You know, just keep in mind also that Public Act 20 of the state of Michigan limits our access to where we can invest funds. We're not buying bonds, we're not buying junk bonds, and we're not buying stocks or anything like that. It's things where we will never lose the principal. So we're probably doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 2%, somewhere in there. But again, there's sweep accounts, and then we do invest in CDs and stuff like that.
Thank you. I'm just looking for the approximation there, trying to do some compounding estimations. Next, Mayor City Manager, could I get a searchable PDF copy of the bridge lease to my email, probably by the end of the week, just so I can go through it?
I'm sorry, say that again?
A searchable PDF version of the bridge contract. I would also like to see if we could get information from Bay Metro on adjusted wear and tear for their not use of Liberty and Independence last year, just to see if they have the difference between 2022 when they were using the bridges to 2024 now when they weren't, if they have that information. See if they can show increased costs to match their agreement for tolls.
We can make the request, Commissioner. I don't know if they legally don't have to provide it, but we can ask.
I understand. That's why I'm like, just send a request, see if they respond.
Yep.
And then could I also get a copy of all commission hired employment contracts? So like the commission, I just want the employment contracts for those who are hired through the commission. So I could go over those two, please.
It would just be myself.
It's only one contract.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there were others that we greenlit or not. Just wanted to make sure about that. Next one is going to be about the ICE system that came through right after the last meeting. I saw your post, Mayor, about they are supposed to put corner patch salting on ice rinks if it was under 4 inches, but I did not see that at all in the ward, and I know that was kind of a discussion for a lot of people online. And I want to make sure that was not, we did not pay for a salting for that system.
I guess you need to clarify that a little bit more, what you're asking.
The system that came through on the 19th and 20th of December, 4 days of ice on all the roads. The policy that was posted that Mayor Gerard got said that if it was under 4 inches in a priority list, like fourth in line, would be putting salt patches on the corners. And it did not look like that was done at all in that 4 day period before we got the other snow system that kind of covered it and melted under. I just want to make sure that we didn't pay for something that wasn't done, even though it was on the list of priority stuff for that size of storm.
Okay. And pay meaning pay who? The city staff? Or?
Yeah, pay for the activity, because it was noted that it costs like so many thousands of dollars to do that per cost. And if we went through and initiated that, we didn't see any results for it.
Okay. I guess I'm going to have Josh come up. I know because he's in charge of the streets, and he can explain that.
Yeah, we pay staff whether or not they do it. It would just be.
I believe the section you're referencing has to do with the procedure section on how we manage 4 inches and under. So the section, as far as de-icing intersections, has to do with the major intersections as they intersect. So it would be Washington, Columbus, McKinley's, those major areas.
Okay, so that was not for the side streets, that was for the main routes only?
Right.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was what, because I read that differently and I was very confused because the results didn't match what I read. That's okay. Thank you. Back to the streets. Can we get a list of what the city would like to see, which streets the city would like to see done with that infrastructure funds? And then I'm going to send a general ask for every commissioner to have a street that they would like to see done in their area, so we can kind of see if we have priorities that match with the city staff, so we can hopefully make this process go a little bit faster.
Yeah, we have an infrastructure committee that goes over that, and so we have a 5-year plan that we can submit to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I'm almost done, I swear. Now former Commissioner Rivett and a resident of my ward spoke about building permit costs and process difficulties, but they never got a presentation showing the differences between us and local municipalities. I'd like to see something like that by the end of March if possible, just like even a comparative chart or a presentation, because the resident said that it's like 3 times the cost for a permit and it takes longer. I know it's hard to quantify time on a permitting process,
Right.
but if we can get like a cost table between us and City of Saginaw, City of Midland, just to see where we are, just to kind of look at that going forward.
Okay, do you want a presentation or you just want the information?
At this point, I'll just take the information.
So just so I'm clear, so you just want information on times or how long it takes for us to give a permit? Are you talking building permits? Because we give a lot of permits out through the city. So what permits?
Yeah, they were talking about building and renovations.
Okay, so you're just looking for timing, basically?
And then a cost comparison if we have it between us and Saginaw and Midland.
Okay, got it.
Last thing, can you give us a explanation why the clerk's office wasn't represented in our orientation last month?
I don't believe, were you here? The clerk's office? Yeah, we didn't have it, we don't have it scheduled, it hasn't been scheduled like that. I mean, would you want information from the clerk's office that you weren't presented? Because I believe all the department information was in there and they did not speak, all the departments.
I just consider the person who has to make the final judgment calling on rules as someone who should have been seen. I mean, most of us who are new have seen the clerk's office and her staff before, but just have them in the room in case questions came up about that.
And I think that's what the city attorney was in there for, to discuss that.
Okay. I'm all set, thank you.
All right, thank you. Did I have anybody that didn't speak yet? I want to make sure. Okay, Commissioner Prince.
So I just wanted to confirm, we have the $5 million from Bridge Partners is in the bank collecting interest. Has the $1.6 million from the state been received yet, from the enhancement grant received last fiscal budget that was passed?
Yeah, it has been received, yes.
Then we have $900,000 less the resolution today from marijuana money.
Correct.
And then our regular road budget is $2.5 million, correct?
I would have to look on the budget book, but yes, that sounds about right.
Okay. So in total, we have about $10 million, about 4x what we usually spend on roads. Is there any concern about spending that all in one fiscal year and causing the rates of what it costs to redo a road to go up because we just have additional money and contractors are going to spend or charge us more?
Correct, that's a great point as far as the contractors, and it's hard to find contractors to do that many projects too in 1 year. I think listening to the commission, I think it'd be good to have Rachel, our engineer, come and discuss, one, the plan, how we pick streets, and then the amount of projects that we can do in 1 year. I think that'll be helpful, so we'll schedule something for the commission.
That'd be really helpful. Yep. Additionally, I know you said to, I think it was Commissioner DeWitt, that you would send him the 5-year plan. I would request that you send that to the entire commission. I'll send it to all.
Yeah, when I send something, it goes to all.
I figured, but I wanted to clarify. Okay,
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, yeah. Commissioner Hilliker. I'm going to go through the commissioners that haven't spoke yet, and then I'll get to back.
I was just going to comment, can you just tell us when, since we're having budget conversations really right now, when we usually have those at the beginning of the year, what time are those currently scheduled for our next budget sessions?
So fiscal services will start now with our staff, so we're going to start planning internally. We usually schedule those, I feel like in April, in May, or do we, in that area. Around in April, we'll be coming to commission, and that's usually when we have these types of discussions, but I know with the new seated commission, you need to have this information to make decisions.
And I will also say, I'll point the commission currently in the budget right now, you can look in the appendix, I do believe, where it lists some of our road project and priorities for multiple years there. So just another way to get information.
All right, all set, Commissioner? All right, anybody else who hasn't spoke yet that wants to speak? Commissioner Runberg.
Mine's just real quick, just kind of a point of clarification on the routes for the priorities that were listed for icing and snow removal. I had a resident that reached out to me that was concerned because when we had that two-structure fire recently in the city, one of the trucks was basically spinning out in the intersection near his house. I mean, it's really tough to say there's a fire out per se, but given the fact that we're down to 3 stations, is there, do they just kind of follow the bus routes as far as we'd consider that be the fire route, or do they have any way of trying to prioritize, make sure that they're able to get to the fires, considering we have a limited capacity at the present moment?
I'll let Josh talk about the routes, and I will say that we were not able to verify that statement because we did check, and we did not, the firemen did not report that their truck was spinning out, just for clarification.
Thank you.
So as far as fire routes are concerned, there really are not fire routes. Fire stations are on major streets, and those get plowed, salted, right as any event, takes place. So there are no per se fire routes, same as there aren't technically emergency routes. A fire or an emergency can take place anywhere. So that would pretty much classify everything as a fire route. If they were to, and I appreciate the statement that it was uncorroborated, but if, an incident were to take place, at times we've gone at the behest of PD and fire, and distributed, salt at scenes, structure fires to alleviate icing situations after those massive amounts of water. So we have gone out and been dispatched, after the fact and during, by fire and PD.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Commissioner Shalava.
Yes, I just wanted to know if we get a 2-inch snowfall and we get another 2-inch snowfall and we get another 2-inch snowfall, at some point, when would the side streets be plowed? That'd be like 6 inches of snow. Would they be plowed then?
The way that the procedure, operates right now, each event is individual and separate. With that in mind, if we had back-to-back snowfalls, which we had 2 years ago, we would evaluate at that point the viability of going into the locals and clearing them. So I can't tell you exactly, because every event is different and every event presents differently. But to definitively say, that 2 + 2 + 2, we would absolutely do it. In all likelihood, yes, we would.
I bring it up because we had that. I saw on the side streets about 8 inches deep. And we got lucky, it all melted, but I thought, this probably should have been plowed, but
On this
you do, yeah, well, it was about 2-3 snowfalls in a row. And then it all melted, so it didn't matter, but.
You're referring to the last event?
Well, it snowed a few times, yeah. And it was 8 inches, 6-8 inches deep on the side streets. I saw it with my own eyes. I mean, I didn't take a tape measure out, but, so I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying, at some point, will the side streets get plowed in a situation like that? And I guess you answered my question.
Okay, so if you want to take this last event in particular and stating that there was 6 inches, it was 6 inches of slush by that point.
It was slush.
With above freezing temperatures day and night. So we evaluate that very closely as well. And in this past event, when we had slush on the side roads, we knew the material was going to melt.
It did.
It's not going to refreeze. Had we gone into the locals and plowed back that slush, knowing that we were also going to be getting 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rainfall, we would have done nothing but clog the gutters. That snow, once it's piled up, has a harder time to melt, obviously.
Gotcha.
Spread out across the road, it can melt evenly, and distribute that water more accordingly than had we pushed everything back to the curb line and clog the gutters with more material.
But you do consider it after several snowfalls that
Absolutely.
the side streets are going to get plowed?
Absolutely. And we
Okay,
considered it with
that was
this.
my question.
Yep,
Thank
we
you.
considered it with this one, and we believe we made the correct decision.
That's all I have, thanks.
All right, Commissioner Coakley.
Thank you. I did reach out to about 6 or 7 other cities just to ask about their procedures and certain things. And most of them mirror ours. Every one of them did say they would have salted and did salt during the ice. Just something to look at. When that ice is there, at least doing the corners or doing something. A couple of the ideas I did like. Some have GPS in their trucks, and they have a link on their website where a citizen of the city can go on the website, click it, see where the trucks are, what they've done, and get an idea when their street may be done. I don't know if that's a possibility with us, but I did like the idea. I mean, if people can answer their own questions a lot of times, it saves everybody a headache.
Agreed. We have GPS on our vehicles. We do not have it linked at this point. We're looking at systems similar to Saginaw County for being able to track those plows, but we haven't implemented it as yet. There is a cost associated with it, so we're really trying to manage those costs accordingly. But we have investigated.
Thank you.
All right, is there any other commissioner that, oh, you're still going, you still got a list. Okay, go ahead, keep going.
I just got out of line. Streets. So that list of streets, when we can get that, thank you. But as a commissioner, and as a commission, I would like us to have an active voice picking from the list. I just don't want to put the $6 million into a general fund and just hope it goes to the right places. I think we should have, you know, whether it's each ward does something, a couple neighboring wards work together on a street that's together that could be fixed. There's so many streets to get fixed, it's just we got to get going on it. Buying our own truck. I know that there's a cost involved. Is there a break even, come ahead point where we could have our own truck to take care of it or our own equipment to do this?
Do what?
Paving.
Oh, for us to do our own paving?
Yes.
We looked at this last year. The investment for the equipment alone for adequate paving equipment is roughly about $3.5 million. To maintain that equipment is approximately $750,000 to $1 million per year for maintenance. For us to be able to pave the amount of roads to return the ROI, it's significant, and it would require a significant investment from the commission to increase our personnel. We would need to add approximately 12 more team members to the street department just for paving purposes to justify.
It was just a question, if you know, which one's going to be a better investment for us. If continuing on is the better investment, then so be it.
Okay.
I did notice on the budget that there was $250,000 just for the general streets. Was that the bike paths last year?
Page
45. And do we have any bike paths planned for this next upcoming round?
I don't know if well, for this next budget, we haven't gotten into the next budget year yet, so it would have to be in that. So I can specifically look to see what we spent the $250 on, but yeah, this is for the non-motorized improvements, so it's sidewalks, bike lanes, and bike paths, I believe it is. Those are the three things, correct? So we can look to see what we have budgeted, why we budgeted, or what it's going towards, if that's...
One more thing and I'm done. Parks. Vets Park, the parking down there is atrocious. I know it needs work. It got beat up pretty bad during when the bridges or the dams failed, and it hasn't been fixed. I mean, it's not a good look down there for the centerpiece of our city. Carroll Park, I had citizens reach out about the playgrounds and the stuff. I know I've been paying attention to what's going on, but it's something we should probably look at, and if we can do something, we can do something. I did see that St. Hysons is for sale. Forgive me, I'm old school calling it St. Hysons. They have a large property out the back part where the fields are. Is it something the city can look at? I know the south end doesn't have a lot of parks. And something we could talk about doing into a park. I don't know how viable that is. Just something to consider, nothing more than that.
I'm smirking a little because we own a lot of parks, and they're really expensive, and we can't replace the equipment we have now. So
And that's what I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, I understand about the parks. It's really hard for us to add more when we don't have money to fix the ones we have at this point. But I understand what you're saying.
That's all I got for now.
All right, any other commissioners? I'm going to keep mine real brief. I just look forward to working with this body the next at least 2 years. I know we're going to have a changeover then, but for the next year, keep asking questions. That's how you learn. And if you have a question before meetings, don't be afraid to message the manager so she can get you that information. It is always helpful to have a lot of pre-information before the meeting, so that way you're knowledgeable about these things. A lot of my questions regarding the snow removal, I think were asked and answered. I know a lot of the policies that we have in place mirror a lot of surrounding jurisdictions. I know there was some concern. A lot of the concern I heard was about when it iced. Fortunately, a couple days later, it did snow on top of that. I don't know if that was exactly in the calculation, but a lot of the residents felt that their cars were slipping all over and there was a dangerous situation. So that's the feedback that I heard about not salting when it all iced over. So, okay, next item is the manager report. Does the manager wish to make any comments?
Yes. The commission liaisons will be on for the next meeting, so I'll be working with Commission President Prince and the mayor on getting that taken care of, and I'll get you information to send out. You'll get an explanation of what all the committees and boards are that you would be a liaison for and how many we need for each board, and that appointment will take place at the next meeting. Our commission photo is on the 21st at the next meeting at 5:30, I believe, or is it 5? It's at 5, so be here at 5 o'clock. We are doing a group one and individual commissioners as well. And I'm going to be sending you a copy of a letter that we did get from HUD. It was a great letter that we received from them saying that we did everything we were supposed to do. We met all the mandates and all the statutes, and it highlighted how we expended $913,000 of CDBG money to help 20 low-income homeowners with emergency repairs, 356 shelter overnights for people experiencing homelessness, and 33,910 residents benefited from the community policing services. We also use those funds for sidewalk replacements, ADA ramps, and Maplewood Park development. We adhered to the 15% public service cap and the 20% administrative cap. And there was an audit and there was no findings. So I will get a copy of that letter out to you tomorrow morning. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Next order of business calls for public input. Under the rules of the City Commission, each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes to speak. Commissioner Coakley will serve as timekeeper. This is the opportunity for citizens to address the commission regarding any agenda item or any other matter. If anyone wishes to address the commission, please come forward, sign the registration sheet, and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, is this thing on? Hello, hey, Drew Good, 1207 Hines Street, Bay City. I'm here tonight as a representative of the SEIU Nurses Union at McLaren Bay. We're deeply concerned about the ongoing layoffs in McLaren Bay region, which have now entered a second round. These job cuts are having a devastating impact not only on the hardworking healthcare professionals at this facility, but also on the patients and community members who rely on us for our care. It isn't just jobs that are being eliminated, it's access to healthcare services that this community needs. Last year, our nurses negotiated a hard-fought contract that was meant to secure the well-being of our employees and the continuity of quality healthcare services, advocating for safe staffing levels, We spent long nights on strategies to recruit and retain new quality nurses and staff to serve the community. Now, less than a year later, the administration is citing financial difficulties as the reason for these layoffs, raising serious questions about transparency and accountability. It is particularly troubling that these layoffs appear to be happening in phases. This raises concerns about whether the administration is attempting to circumvent federal labor laws, including Workers' Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, which exists to protect employees and their families from abrupt and unfair job loss and communities in which they reside by giving them fair notice in case of shutting down service lines. This hospital serves the public when there's emergencies, when there's new life, when that life ends. When bones and bodies and minds need repair, we're the ones to do it, and we do it gladly to help our neighbors and to support each other. But now a private, out-of-town corporation is choosing how and what kind of health care is offered and provided to our community, based not off the community need, but off of a profit-loss margins. These decisions will adversely affect the common good and the quality of life in this community. Healthcare workers in McLaren Bay region have always put the needs of our patients and our community first, even during the most challenging times. We call on McLaren Bay region's leadership to act with integrity and explore every possible alternative to these layoffs, including greater transparency about their financial situation and collaboration with the union to find solutions that protect jobs, protect services to the community, our community. We are committed to holding that administration accountable and will continue advocating for the rights of our members and the community we serve. We urge local leaders and elected officials to join us in addressing these layoffs and ensuring that healthcare in Bay City is not compromised. Sincerely, SEIU Healthcare Michigan, McLaren Nurses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for your time. I'd like to start by just giving a serious endorsement to the...
Just one moment. You need to state your name and address.
Oh, sorry, I wrote that down. My name is Paul Kleinow. I'm on 1713 10th Street. I want to give a serious endorsement to the presentation that opened this meeting from the Good Samaritan and the proven results of similar sites nationwide. I want to bring up a long-term issue rather than immediate related to that. Directly related to their project, briefly mentioned earlier, on the site of the old YMCA and Market on Columbus, demolition has begun to prepare for multiple buildings, serving as an additional housing complex for seniors, at-risk families, young adults, an estimated 104 families in total, I read. As you're all likely aware, this could be transformational if successful for the city, providing in the space of a few blocks potentially 200 new people housing, then walking and biking distance of downtown and the Riverwalk, from uptown and walking distance of the Columbus Business District, down the street from Central High School, the hospital, the private school All Saints. We need this project to succeed. If this succeeds, it could revitalize an area of town in serious need of it. We just saw a longtime staple restaurant close on Columbus last year, and 100 new families would be a great boon to those remaining. If it fails, it could provide a level of blight unmanageable for city resources. From review of similar projects in cities around the country, this is not a project I believe will be successful without investment and buy-in, but if invested, could be incredible and informative for a city that has done no similar projects in at least 50 years. With this in mind, I hope the City Commission considers the future needs of this construction and plans ahead on things this project will need beyond the existence of the building itself. Planning like, will there be co-location and collaboration of city social services? Will there be sufficient parking for 100+ families? Also, given many of these families may not have access to vehicles or limited access during the week, one person out at work, the other does not have a vehicle, and so on, will public transit be rerouted? School buses rerouted? Will alternate methods like safe and secure bike and scooter parking be added? Will bike lanes be on the road for them, given this population is far more likely to use them? And top of my mind, will families that may have limited vehicle access have access to food? Or will the area quickly become a food desert for them, relying on nearby fast food and convenience stores rather than produce? This latter item is something I hope the city begins considering promptly, how it can incentivize new businesses. A produce market similar to Jack's Fruit Market within walking distance of the new complex would be a massive aid to it and the local community for health and wellness, and provide another community entity through which charity can leverage additional aid in an area most in need of it. Funding, tax credits, or even out-of-the-box thinking like a city-sponsored food co-op all could help and would just be down the street from this very building. Creativity and preparation on any of the above issues in transportation, health, wellness, social services now will help make this project a success when it begins construction next year. Thank you for your time, and I hope we can make this project successful as a city.
Thank you.
Good evening, Sarah Parker, 701 West Hart Street, 48706. As I said, my name is Sarah Parker, and I come here on behalf of Hay Bay City in response to the resolution from Commissioner Tenney about providing our financial reports. First, I just wanted to thank you, Commissioner, for your resolution. Come here tonight with full transparency and accountability regarding our expenditure of these public ARPA funds. Quarterly, we do provide our detailed expenditures, which are submitted to the Commission, and these are able to be added to the meeting minutes for public viewing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tracy Zane, 1321 Broadway, Wicked Emporium Studios grassroots movement. Thank you, Mr. Streeter, for putting in the hard work, put up the safe haven. But here I am again, y'all, with 70% of our people that we're servicing not being from our city. I'm going to ask that we send it on back so that we can look at other local municipalities and see how they can help us with the funding for this. I don't feel like a 4x4 space provides anything but another hardship. Here, you can come and get warm, but you can't sleep. You can sleep sitting up. I'm having a really hard time understanding how this is going to make it easier. It'll make them warm. But if we have 70% of the people we're servicing coming outside of the city, why aren't we seeking funding from other places? And why aren't we looking at a long-term solution instead of a short-term solution? Meaning maybe a mental health safe haven with everybody under one umbrella. Well, we could use Face Addiction Now, who seems to be pretty successful in their endeavors. I didn't hear them mentioned. Behavioral health, that's great. But we're missing some of our programs here that I think could help us with the opioid crisis that we're having. I really don't feel that the city should be responsible for putting out all the money if we have surrounding areas that are utilizing more of our service. We need them to help. And if we have $5 million somewhere, and if it's not all for roads, why aren't we building a state-of-the-art mental health facility so that we can get to the root cause of the problem? A Band-Aid fix ain't gonna cut it, y'all. They can't even sleep. You can sleep in a chair sitting up. Sounds really inhumane to me. These people are already living their life 24 hours a day, not knowing where they may not get their first drink of water for the day or a meal. But yet they can come here. You can get warm, but you can't lay your head down. I'm having a really hard time with that. I think we need to take a longer look at a longer term solution, y'all. A Band-Aid fix isn't gonna cut this. Mr. Streeter stated it himself. This problem is going to continue to grow. And for those of you that haven't been in there, my experience has showed me that we are dealing with our children. 23 to 32-year-old kids is a majority of what I dealt with. We're gonna lose a whole generation if we don't do something to get their mental health in check. So I'm going to ask you guys again, can we take a better look at this, and can we actually go back to the community input and maybe have a think tank with the community? Although, Mr. Streeter, yes, I understand you've been here doing this for years. You know this business like nobody else. We get that. But we need a long-term solution, not a short-term solution. And that's what I feel we're doing here. And when it comes to it being a multi-county problem, it needs to be a multi-county money. We shouldn't be held responsible for this. whether we want to do the right thing or not. So I'm going to ask you guys again. Can we have a think tank? Can we get the community involved? Because I really thought that this was supposed to wait until the new commission was acclimated, but right here it is again. We were supposed to visit this in a few weeks. I think that's what it said in our last commission meeting. So rush, 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 rush. Here we are still rushing. Mr. Streeter gives the presentation, and 70% of it isn't our problem. I have a problem with where our money is going for that. A 4x4 space for 30 people to the tune of $400,000 seems a little extreme. If we're gonna spend $400,000 and we have $5 million sitting somewhere, why aren't we building a state-of-the-art facility? Why aren't we bridging all of these organizations, Peer 360, Face Addiction Now? We can go down all the resources that we have. Why aren't they under one roof, providing the services that we need? Safe living, sober living, all of it. Why are we all over the city? Let me ask you guys, please. We need a different plan. Yeah, we need a different plan. We need to look at this.
Commissioner Prince.
Motion to give 2 more minutes.
Is there a second? Commissioner Coakley, second? Okay.
I'd really like us to take a, and not that Mr. Streeter's plan don't sound fabulous, okay? I know the man knows what he's doing. But we're missing something here. This is not just our problem. So why are we going to consume it all? I really want this to be looked at as like a bigger community problem than just our city. Why aren't we looking to Saginaw County? Why aren't we looking at Midland County and everywhere else to help funding and get something that we can all utilize as a whole? Because we all have the same problem, and it's not going to get any better. Mr. Streeter said it himself, it's going to get worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott Scarberry. My address is 519 South Farragut Street. I did not plan on speaking, so I apologize if I stutter a little bit, but I work for Face Addiction Now and Hope Not Handcuffs. I also, as a separate employment, work for Peer 360 Recovery Alliance. And I appreciate all the work that Mr. Streeter does. We definitely send a lot of people to Good Samaritan. However, they usually are full. There is a huge need for this. One of the things that we do with Face Addiction Now is we work in partnership with the city police department and also now the county sheriffs. We work in the quick response team. When someone overdoses or has some kind of substance use disorder that's recognized by a stop or by an interaction with law enforcement, we go out there and offer them services, whether they want detox, residential, or even harm reduction. A big problem we run into is if we go and meet with somebody and they say yes, they want to go to treatment, they want to go to detox, well, that's a process to get somebody in that. It usually takes at least a couple days to get somebody in residential treatment. Now, we have somebody that wants help right now. They want to get off the street, they want to better themselves, but we have nowhere to put them in the meantime of getting them into, into residential treatment. Unfortunately, the Good Samaritan is full most of the time. They are always at full capacity. And I believe Mr. Streeter, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he said 60% is city and 70% is county of the people they service, not 70% outside of Bay County. I believe he said 70% is Bay County residents. I believe that's what he said. Is 60% is city residents and 70% is county residents. It is a big problem. It is a big problem for Bay County. Substance use disorder is a huge problem. And unfortunately, even when people reach out to us, we have nowhere to put them for immediate use. And a lot of times that the window of opportunity that somebody, ask for help is usually a very small window. It's something drastic happens in their life, or something happens where they've had enough, they want help, they want treatment. But if we can't get them into there, like say we can't get them into treatment until a week and a half from now, or a week now, and we don't have anywhere to put them, now they're still on the street, they're still living the same lifestyle, and eventually, they could die in that amount of time, or they get caught back up in the lifestyle, and unfortunately that window closes because that window is a very small window. I myself also am a person in long-term recovery. That's why I do what I do. And I kind of agree and disagree with, we do need an immediate place to put somebody to go in. But I think sleeping is a big part of that too. Like, just for a 4x4 thing for somebody to sit for 12 hours, I don't know. I don't really have a solution for this, but there is a huge need for us to have somewhere to put these individuals, for a temporary. And even if the Good Samaritan had room, Good Samaritan is more set up, I believe, for more long-term stay. And, when we're putting people in residential treatment, it's more of a short-term stay. Just for a couple of days, we need somewhere to put them. Unfortunately, usually, myself, I can usually only find openings at, shelters in Saginaw or another location. It makes things a lot more difficult. We definitely need more resources here, and I believe, Commissioner, I can't pronounce your last name. Yes, sorry. You brought up a good sober housing and recovery housing. That is another huge thing. We definitely need. We have no sober house or recovery houses in Bay City. Anytime I get somebody, get them into treatment. They complete treatment. We want to put them in recovery housing. We don't want to just. They get out of treatment, send them right back into the same environment that they came out of with nowhere to go, no family, no kind of resources or anything. So we try to connect them with resources. A big part of that is putting them in recovery housing, which is like an in-between from residential to having their own place. There is nothing in Bay City. And there's only, I believe, 2 in Saginaw that I send people to. So that's a huge problem as well. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Donovan Gomez. I'm a resident of the city of Saginaw. And there were a lot of good points made here today. I've listened to the budgets, the meetings, things like that. But take a look at your fellow commissioners. Take a look at your fellow citizens. Now imagine creating a world that is completely dystopian, whereas an actual point or a valid fact would continuously be discredited. Well, that's exactly what I went to when I got involuntarily hospitalized and almost taxed $1,000 a day in a mental hospital. And the result of this issue, if you look at it in the back of your minutes, it's called the Americans with Disabilities Act. Is that federal? Can somebody clarify, is that federal? I believe it is federal, right? It has been one of the most formidable tools of the federal government to continuously discredit its persons based off of mental illness. And basically this administration just pretty much left the money to the states, whereas a whole industry in job stimulation, whereas one of the hospital workers, their caseworkers said, we know this is wrong, but we're still gonna say that you have mental illness in the first place. I said, okay, great. Forest View Hospital checked the public record. So I don't agree with mental health at all. Also, too, I actually worked with a homeless man. I picked him right off the street, have him slept in my car. We ended up going on a mission. I was door dashing, and he ended up purchasing some illicit substance from somewhere. I said, look, this is where I draw the line. You're gonna have to get out of my car because I don't engage in this whatsoever. There he was again, right back on the street. I can't help, I can lead the horse to water, but I can't force him to drink, okay? So whatever choice that you do, that's freedom in America. But if you go ahead and get caught up by one of these guys, guess what? That's your own choice. If you want to spend 10 years in federal prison or whatever, that's your choice. So I believe in liberty. And the policies that you pass or the budgets that you guys pass also keep liberty in mind for the population. When we cultivate a society that says, well, we should just erect a mental health institution everywhere and basically discredit people who we don't agree with, that fundamentally contradicts the First Amendment while also revoking your Second. And after that, the Sixth Amendment also goes where right to public trial is pretty much revoked and all the other stuff. So, solution. Guess what? Talk to my boy Josh over there. Go ahead and pick up these dudes a shovel. Hey, look, you can get a place to sleep, but you have to work for it. Bridges need to be built. Roads need to be fixed. Stuff needs to get done around the city, and I see all these people complacent. Now, look, I can give you the tools, bro, but I can't help you if you don't want to help yourself. And whatever choice you decide to make outside of here, that's on you. But at the end of the day, I'm a man, and I should be treated as such, as well as I hold anybody here accountable for their own actions if they end up messing up and doing something. There's a process for that, court. So yeah, the federal government, that's one of its most formidable tools. It actually resonates like that to Stalin's labor camps because I'm still paying off that medical bill on top of some other miscellaneous debts I'm still working on right now. Yeah, so just take the budget in consideration. Do not donate a single dollar to mental health. They know what's wrong, but they are willing to use that just to certify their jobs. And I'm sorry for that nursing dude who got hemmed up on some stuff. But, hey, look, man, you agreed to go to school, so pay that bill. Go in and build a road, build a bridge. That's all I say.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment?
Richard Luzak, 1707 Fremont. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, as you begin or continue your terms of office in Bay City, I'd like to challenge you to consider a change in the actual government of Bay City. When you search the city charter and the code of ordinances, you will find that, in accordance with state law, the people have the right to initiate a petition for a referendum on any issue that concerns their government. When you look at the details, however, you will quickly see that it is nearly impossible for the people to exercise that right. In fact, the charter and ordinances give only vague requirements about complying with state law. I want to propose a solution to this difficult problem. I believe that this power should be granted to the office of the mayor, working with the city attorney to draft such a proposal to be put to the people in a general referendum. That is, to allow the people to directly vote on an issue. The issue that may arise, that the mayor may sees a need that's not being addressed by the commission, or the matter is of such importance that it ought to be put directly to the people. This is in accordance with state law. State law provides for that. Within the last couple of months, and even this evening, people are looking greedily at the millions of dollars the city has in the bank. Another issue that came up recently in the last couple of months within the Department of Public Safety is they want to build a new police station on the site of the former city service building on South Water. Having a citywide election may be just the way to settle an issue once and for all, giving the people an opportunity to participate in that decision making. There may be more complicated situations where the mayor finds it necessary to veto a resolution that's been approved by the commission. In that event, that the mayor's veto is overridden, it may be important for the mayor representing the citizens of the city to direct a public election to decide on that matter. I would strongly urge you not to discard this idea or to simply file it away until the next charter revision several years from now. The mayor is elected by all the people in the city and represents them, and the mayor is the highest paid elected official in Bay City government, as far as I can tell. It's time to give the office of the mayor some additional authority to put important questions directly to the citizens of Bay City for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll try and be quick because we're pushing 8 p.m. I just kind of want to quickly speak in favor of the drop.
Oh, I'm sorry, could you just state your name and address for the record?
Thomas Hardy, 1904 10th Street. Just want to quickly speak in favor of the Good Samaritan Drop-In Center, as I know it's kind of maybe a bit contentious and maybe a bit confusing. For a little bit, maybe a bit over a year and a half, I was a case manager for all of the homeless veterans through the SSVF program in a few counties in Michigan, mostly rural counties, Gladwin, Clare, that kind of area. And I think especially working with that clientele, I worked with a lot of people who were even facing imminent homelessness, really pretty resistant to a homelessness shelter. There's a feeling of independence or dignity that would be lost by going to a homeless shelter where they would be, sleeping and under a more formal guideline of rules that homeless shelters have to function well. And I do think that a lot of them would benefit from a drop-in center because alternatively, many of them were, sleeping on benches, spending all of their day in the local library or McDonald's, and just to be in a drop-in center where you're closer to services, I think would really assist a lot of those people in transitioning to full-time services or to more long-term care. So while it's not a perfect solution, it's just kind of a single step in a marathon, I do think that it would be a good thing for the city. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Make sure the button is green, lit up.
Must have hit it. Okay, can you hear me now? All right, my name is Jill Cosley, 208 West Smith Street. I'd just like to quickly say a few words about the homeless center. I agree that we do need it. I think it's a good program, but I think that money might be able to be spent more for your buck if you split that money in half. Use some for firefighters. We do need another one. We need more than one. And then use some money for the homeless shelter too. Just thought, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? All right, seeing no one else come forward. Oh, yep, come on, sir, and just write your name and address for the record.
Okay, my name's Jeff Reed, 409 Fillmore Place. I am not a big fan of the Bay City Bridge Partners. I think that was a terrible name. We allowed them to use Bay City in the name of their company because it puts Bay City in a bad light. As far as looking over their, looking into the contract to make sure they're not violating the contract that they signed with us, I think that's a great idea. We got to keep an eye on that. And something else, I don't know if anybody ever noticed yet, but News 5 was here today, and anytime something's brought up about the Bay City Bridge Partners, they just kind of walked out of the room. News 12, I noticed before they started tolling on this other bridge, News 12 was all over the news, letting all the citizens know that, hey, this is going to start tolling on the 1st. Not a peep out of News 5, unless I missed it, because I bounce back and forth. I try to look at all the different news organizations. But I don't think they really want to hear what the people of Bay City think about these bridges, because what I've heard from talking to other people, I don't even want to say the word because it's vulgar, but nobody that I talk to is happy about it. Okay, that's it for the bridge partners. I think we're kind of stuck there, other than hopefully they'll go out of business and we'll be able to get those bridges back. A suggestion on that, what if we gave those bridges to the state of Michigan and let the state of Michigan maintain those bridges? We could give them away and then everybody could possibly cross for free again someday. The other thing I was disappointed about was, and I know this don't have nothing to you, but Bay Metro, I voted for the millage increase, and I was really disappointed when I seen Bay Metro take some of my tax dollars that I voted to give to them in good faith to help bus citizens around, and they turn around and give it to the bridge partners. You guys don't have any control over it, but they might hear this, because that was just disappointing, because I personally won't give the bridge partners 1 penny. I never have, and I never will. And I know a lot of other citizens feel the same way. Our surrounding neighbors, friends, family members, other people in the communities all around us, just disgusted. Okay, that's it for the bridge partners. As far as the $5 million we got from the bridge partners, I think we need to slow down on that $5 million and put that in the bank and really think about what we're going to do with this $5 million. Because that money's there and everybody wants to spend it real quick. You might want to consider buying all the citizens in the city of Bay City a bridge pass. So after, 2028? All the citizens can continue to use those bridges. There's an idea. As far as the reefer money, everybody likes that, you know. The adults are smoking the reefer, getting high, having fun, great time. Hey, let's take that reefer money and build a new park for the kids. Let the kids have some fun. The adults are. That's just a suggestion. The other thing I'd like to talk about is the snow removal. Okay, I heard tonight it was a good idea just to leave that, because if you plow that slush, it's going to plug up the gutters. I don't believe that to be true. The boulevard over on Fillmore, there's 3 boulevards, 3 spaces. These are probably familiar. It's my understanding that that's controlled by the Park and Recreation. They maintain the grounds as far as the grass and the leaves. Those leaves are so past the edge of the curb of the road, it's just going to turn into slush, and now it's going to get into the sewage system. We're going to have to get our trucks out there to pump that out, because the leaves they're just turning into mush. The street sweepers don't come through and do their part. Some of the neighbors where I live, we've actually...
Commissioner Prince?
Motion to give him 2 more minutes.
Is there support? Commissioner
Second.
Is there any objection? All right, seeing none, you have 2 more minutes.
Thank you. So with the leaves, and a lot of the neighbors come together, and we've actually cleaned the gutters ourselves to try to help keep so when it does rain, the rain can go into the gutters or into the drainage system. But our road, you know, somebody mentioned the snows that we've had. You know, it's gone now, but we had a good 4 inches of just solid ice on that road. And then when it did melt down, there has not been a plow on Fillmore Street since we've had snow events. And if you have GPSs on your trucks, you might be able to see that for yourself, or you already know. But when those roads get sloppy like that, we need to get those plows out and push that slush aside so that people can travel through these neighborhoods safely. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? All right, seeing none, next order of business calls for items on the regular agenda. Will the clerk please read the next item of business?
Regular agenda item 1, city manager recommending amendment to the responsible contracting rules and regulations. Recommendation approve.
there a motion? Commissioner Hilliker.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Commissioner Coakley.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Commissioner Hilliker.
I just want to give a brief history, just in case anybody, since it's a new commission. The person we are in the next one, hopefully deeming responsible, brought to our attention essentially something that we missed when we wrote the responsible contracting rules and regulations. And essentially it was along the lines of like maritime dock stuff. Like they have a lot of different standards that they follow. And so the way it was written, it really, it didn't fit well with anybody that's redoing some of our docks. So that's the history of it. And I just wanted to give that a overview, just because we're a new commission.
Thank you. Any other discussion? My understanding, they're the only company that does this in the state too. So, could the clerk please call the roll on the motion?
Commissioner Charlebois?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Prince?
Yes.
Coakley?
Yes.
Bernie Obershaw?
Yes.
Tenney?
Yes.
Hilliker?
Yes.
DeWitt?
Yes.
Rumberg?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. The motion is adopted. Would the clerk please read the next item of business?
Item number 2, city manager recommending Flotation Docking Systems, Inc. be deemed as a responsible contractor per ordinance 2021-14. Recommendation approved.
Commissioner Hilliker.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Prince.
Second.
Would the clerk please call, oh, it's discussion. All right, would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Prince?
Yes.
Coakley?
Yes.
Bernie Obershaw?
Yes.
Tenney?
Yes.
Hilliker?
Yes.
DeWitt?
Yes.
Rumberg?
Yes.
Charlebois?
Yes.
9 yes.
All right, the motion's been adopted. Would the clerk please read the next item of business?
Number 3, commission as a whole resolution supporting the Good Samaritan Drop-In Center proposal by utilizing $250,000 of community development block grant funds and $150,000 of the city's Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act funds. Recommendation approved.
Is there a motion? Commissioner Hilliker.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Commissioner Runberg.
Second.
Is there a discussion? Commissioner Tenney.
Just a couple of things that I want to go over real quick. I was sharing with a fellow commissioner that currently there's a party store being used as a warming center. People are going in there buying drinks to seek heat in the middle of the night. If that doesn't make you sick to your stomach to see our city's most vulnerable using a corner store as a doggone warming center, I don't know what will. So if we're looking for perfection, we're probably not going to have it tonight. We may not ever have it. However, something does need to be done for our city's most vulnerable people. And as far as one of my colleagues' amendments to the resolution, barring any discrimination on religious grounds or any participation in religious activities, I really, really appreciate that. And I also wanted to add that there is another shelter in the city. It's a 501(c)(3) specializing in housing veterans. It's called 3 Vets in a Dream, and I think that's something we should look for in the future as far as allocations go, and certainly other avenues. But I do think that this is a great start at looking at this problem and doing something meaningful about it. So I wanted to thank my colleagues and the Good Samaritan for their work on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Tenney. Commissioner Hilliker, and then Runberg, and then DeWitt. Yep.
All right, sorry. I thought you had said someone else first. So I just want to address a few things with this one. We have an expert in the room who's been working on this for a long time. They've looked at case studies. They've brought leaders to other places to look at this. They have created a plan for us, and I've said this last week, or whenever our last meeting was, it's a piece of the puzzle, right? And just because there's one solution in front of us right now doesn't mean there can't be other solutions. Right now we live in a lot of times of it's this or that, and it doesn't have to be that way. If you're passionate about this in the community, then work on it. Work on your other solution. This is the one solution that's in front of us right now, and it's one that I think makes a lot of sense. It talks about the hard-to-reach individuals. Someone said this was a Band-Aid. It's not a Band-Aid. It's a lifeline. It's an entryway in to start working with individuals that's a hard-to-reach population. So we need to stop thinking that it's just a temporary fix. It's not. It's, like I said, it's a way to access a hard population that doesn't always get services. It's a lifeline. In regards to the percentage of people who are going and are potentially not living within the city and the cost of us, the reason why it's coming to us is because we have the ability right now, because of some of our CBDG dollars that have been allocated and because of how we've used some of our other fundings here and because of our marijuana stuff, to have this opportunity to actually try to make a difference. And Mr. Streeter has talked about sustainability, right? And seeking other fundings once this gets going. But this is to help them start it up and start it get going. So why not give them the shot? Why not give them the shot to try to get it to run? Because we have the ability, we have the funding. And we can seek the county, but maybe the county also needs, hey, we've seen this. We've seen it works, and let's go for the funding to seek for sustainability. There's absolutely nothing wrong with us kind of being innovative and leaders on this. And again, the other piece to talk about who's going to it and to worry what's on their license, that is disgusting. You're telling me, this is how I look at it. I'm sorry, I'm getting worked up about this, but you're telling me if someone was thirsty and you had a bucket of water, you said to them first, you don't live in my household, so you don't get a drink from my bucket of water. That's how I'm seeing this. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so I hope that we can put ridiculous boundaries aside and look to see, hey, we have the opportunity, we have the funding availability to make an actual difference in this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Renberg.
Yes, thank you. To echo Commissioner Hilliker's statement regarding people coming to us from outside of the city limits, we are the county seat. We are going to have all the amenities and services localized to us. So it makes sense that they would be coming to us. It's kind of hard to seek out services when you're surrounded by farm fields. So I encourage this to continue to be the beacon of hope for our community. Barring any sort of handout that's going to come from the county, which I'm not going to hold my breath on, it's going to be a situation where we have to take care of our own, and the people who live on the streets currently in our community are our own that we have to take care of regardless where they come from. It's not an either or, but it's a yes and. This is a good first step. Obviously, there's many other things we can be looking forward to exploring, especially given the resources that we have, but since we're using CDBG funds for the initial construction of the facility, and then using the $150,000 annually from the marijuana tax revenue, first and foremost, I think that that's an excellent application of that tax revenue. I understand entirely that not all situations are people aren't going to always wind up unhoused because of substance use, but there is a substance use element to our housing situation, or at least the housing security situation. And I think that just makes sense as far as ethically and morally to use that funding towards such a program. As I had added the amendments to the resolution during the previous meeting, it does call for, and I won't read the whole portion of it, but one, a financial report detailing the use of public funds, two, an operational performance review, including the number of individuals served, services provided, and outcomes achieved, and community feedback on the center's impact and accessibility. So this isn't like we're marrying a program. This is something that we can continuously review and judge its efficacy and hopefully make adaptations as we learn how this helps the community and where we might have opportunity to improve upon. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner DeWitt.
My questions are the financial side of it, just because I want to make sure that we don't possibly trip into something. This $250,000 of CDBG funds, is this from the homeless application bucket for CDBG, or is it from a different one that we are altering?
I'm looking at Debbie Kiesel because she's our expert with CDBG funds.
Hello. The CDBG funds that we are using are not out of the homeless bucket. We only can use 15% of our grant every year on a public service. This is more of a bricks and mortar project. So what we did is we reviewed since 2019 funding. So we have some surplus administration funding that is sitting there. Some years we don't use all that funding, some years we do. And then we have some housing rehab money. We don't normally ever volunteer to loosen up our housing rehab funds, but we are using ARPA money right now for those housing rehab funds. So that's enabling us to help out with this need and still carry on our other needs that we do have.
Okay, so do we have to submit a request to HUD to allow this? Okay, I was a positive yes, because it wasn't said, but the last question is, if they deny that, do we lose that funding?
No, so what we do, we don't necessarily do a direct request to HUD. We're in charge of our funding, and it's our responsibility to follow our guidelines. What we do have to do is a substantial amendment. So we have to go in and amend every one of those years that we're going to change that funding for. And on those years, so what we do is we write a summary, update those annual plans, and then we post it. That's a 14-day posting. We hold a public hearing. We go ahead, we get all of our changes in place. We leave that out for 30-day public comment period. We enter that into the HUD system, and then we submit that into our HUD staff. And 9 times in 10, we have approval as long as we're within regulations and as long as our public comment flow, if everything's in line. We've never been turned down for a substantial amendment.
I just want to make sure that we didn't do this amendment and then it comes back and says, we're denying this, put it back, and then we don't have the funds to cover this. I just wanted to make sure we're okay there.
We'll be safe for that.
Commissioner?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Bernie Overshaw.
Yes, about the CDBG, the Community Block Grant Program, how long has that program been in effect?
50 years.
It says 33 years. Okay, so you're using the Community Block Grant money for the Samaritan Drop-In Center?
Correct.
And so you just had your CAPA meeting. And so with your CAPA annual funding program, how much of that community development money was put away for homeless shelters, like the Samaritan Homeless Shelter?
So annually, we normally allocate anywhere from 30 to 35,000. We're able to do that within our 15% cap. But this is not a public service. This is to help build the facility, so it's different type of funding. So the funding we are using is out of general CDBG. We're not depleting a different program for it. We're still providing the services.
Okay, I see here that the CDBG program, you, Ms. Kiesel, you are part of the land bank. The CDBG program, they have done rehabilitation on homes and have done mortgages.
I don't want to interject, but it's.
But this is about
I just want to make sure it's
land bank
germane to the question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there are several homes that have been rehabilitated through the years, and they are in the land bank. They were lower to income moderate homes that the CDBG money had used to rehabilitate these homes. Now there have been several people that have passed away, and these 20-year mortgages were on the homes. They weren't able to get the homes back.
Again, I don't know.
I'm just saying
How
that
does
they
this
can,
connect to the
the homes can be rehabilitated, and they can be made into veteran homes. They could be made into homes to help drug rehabilitation people. They can be used into halfway homes. She is head of the land bank. Well, she sits as a director on the land bank. She sits as a director on the Bay City Housing Commission. She is the
Well, I do
director
understand it's
for
still not
the development. If she is a part of all three of these and has the funding for all three of these entities in the city of Bay City, I am wondering, it says right here, she's the head of the land bank.
Well, I don't
She
think it's
has
germane, yeah,
all of these properties for,
Can we bring Ms. Kiesel in to go over this in front of the commission? I mean, we seem to be a little bit off where we're supposed to be right now, and these are all, this is great questions, but I just don't know if this is the time for it. I mean, because we're sort of getting off topic on it.
So very quickly, I am a board member, not a director, on the Land Bank and on the Bay City Housing Commission. They're separate entities. The Land Bank does not hold any housing rehabilitation properties or loans. The Land Bank currently only has some vacant properties. They don't own any homes. The city does not own any homes. So and we have never taken back anybody's home in a housing rehab loan, even if they've passed away. We don't take anybody's property back. That's not our goal.
Well, is there something specific to the Good Samaritan and the business right now, not specific to anything other? So it's got to be specific and germane to the topic.
yes, it is. I'm saying that these homes that had the rehabilitation, they had rehabilitation funding used for them through the CDBG funding. And it says in the land bank that there are a lot of homes that have been placed in there. They haven't been taken or foreclosed. I'm saying there's homes in the land bank that we should be able to utilize for halfway houses, for low-income people that can be utilized for homeless or low-income families. We should be able to utilize those homes and properties that are sitting in that land bank and not being used.
Okay.
And
so
I think we
your
should
sentiment is to use these other properties versus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank
so
you,
that's
thank
what
you.
I'm saying.
Okay,
And
all
I
right,
think
thank
that we need to have a presentation about that, and we need to touch on that base, Ms. Kiesel. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Coakley.
Let me gather my thoughts again. The 150,000, is that coming out of the 900,000 that we were planning on dedicating to infrastructure?
That would have to be for Dana or George.
Yes, it's coming out of the marijuana funds that a past resolution had it going towards the streets.
So we're taking money that we had promised for one thing and putting it towards another.
Correct.
I want to help with this immensely. I do believe in it, but I do not believe that the city should do 100% of it. I would be good with the 250,000 to start, but the 150,000 I would like some more time on. We've already promised that money in one place. I mean, there's more money. It's just my thoughts on that. And I'm a generous person. I want to help as much as I can. If it was my money, I would push it that way. I just wish I had more time to go over this and discuss it and get some more input on it. I'm having a hard time, and I shouldn't be with this.
All right. I'll say Commissioner. Commissioner Prince.
To the city manager, do you know what fiscal year that resolution was made to dedicate marijuana money to roads?
Yes, it's for this current fiscal year.
And has that been standard practice for the past few fiscal years?
No.
So because I reached out to you earlier this week regarding marijuana fund money and how much the city has collected over the past couple fiscal years. Fiscal year 23 was $560,000. Fiscal year 24 was $675,000. Fiscal year 25 was $950,000. Based on a little bit of research I've done regarding the industry, I don't anticipate that tax to collapse over the next few fiscal years. That makes it impossible for us to pivot. So with that being said, I think the $150,000 in funding would be well suited for this, while also leaving plenty of money that's been there in the past for roads at a reasonable rate. So I look forward to supporting this resolution.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioners have comments? Commissioner Morse.
The Marijuana Act funds that are coming in annually, can that be used for more than just roads? For example, a fire station or firefighters by chance?
The answer is yes. Yes, we had previously, when we were getting those revenues in on the marijuana tax, it was just put into our general fund, which was supporting all of those functions.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. I just want to comment. Nothing in life is perfect, and I understand this isn't the perfect solution for everybody, but we do have some demonstration of this in other communities working for the population we're looking to target. I don't know if we'll ever come up with a perfect solution. I do appreciate all the dialogue and good discussion about this, because it really is, as I said, an important issue for our community to address. And so the fact that we have something forward, I want to thank the Good Samaritan Rescue Mission for putting something forward. I know there's a group of other community citizens that made that trip and provided some feedback on that. So with that being said, I guess we're going to put it to the vote. Or is there a motion? Actually, we have a motion, and so if we could do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Prince?
Yes.
Coakley?
No.
Bernie Obershaw?
No.
Tenney?
Yes.
Hilliker?
Yes.
DeWitt?
Yes.
Rumberg?
Yes.
Charlebois?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
7 yes, 2 no.
Thank you. The motion's been adopted. Could the clerk please read the next item of business?
Regular Agenda 4, Commissioner Tenney's resolution requesting that Hay Bay City release all spending reports related to the ARPA funds and have detailed financial reports presented to the City Commission at least biannually.
Is there a motion? Commissioner Tenney.
Move to
Move to approve?
approve the resolution.
Okay, is there a second? Commissioner DeWitt.
Second.
All right, discussion. Commissioner Tenney.
So I just want to mirror some comments I've already made regarding this. I'm not dogging Hay Bay City out. I don't think it's a bad program or anything like that. Our area obviously has seen population decline, right? I don't think that this is a bad piece of the puzzle to address that issue. So this has zero to do with Hay Bay City and the program itself, and everything to do with transparency and accountability to the public. The best way we can combat misinformation in the public, like we all make a gazillion dollars, would be to just put the information out there for everybody to see. As a constituent, I would often watch these presentations. I shouldn't say often, there's only been about 2 of them, right? And say, okay, I don't think that was sufficient to say, we have a balance of $200 and some odd thousand. I'd like to know how much that billboard costed. I would like to know how much the salaries are. It was just a curiosity of mine as a constituent. I don't think you should have to be a doggone city official to get that information. It should be presented openly and publicly. That is all. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Coakley.
Just a couple questions. This is the last year of our 500,000 commitment to them?
You mean the last year that they can spend it, or?
Wasn't it 3-year and this is the 3rd year? Or is it, do we have an agreement that it keeps on renewing, or is it going to come back to the commission where we could discuss it?
No, so they actually have some other funders. I mean, they are looking for additional funders to continue the movement. So, I mean, once our funding is done, it's done, unless the commission decides to continue that.
Perfect, thank you.
Commissioner Bernie Overshaw?
This is off, this is on something else. I need to ask the question about our closed meeting, about the lawsuit that we were having?
We gotta
This
talk,
is something-
we gotta talk germane. We can talk after, but
Yeah.
we gotta stick germane to this topic. Is there any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, do we do a motion? Oh, we got a motion already, sorry. Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion? It is getting late.
Commissioner Coakley.
Yes.
Bernie Overshaw.
Yes.
Tenney.
Yes.
Hilliker.
Yes.
DeWitt.
Yes.
Rumberg.
Yes.
Charlebois.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Prince.
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. The motion is adopted. Will the clerk please read the next item of business?
That would be Commissioner DeWitt's resolution that was added at the beginning of the meeting.
Is there a motion? Commissioner DeWitt.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Commissioner Renberg.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner DeWitt and then Hilliker.
Right, so the purpose of this is just to kind of put us in line with a lot of other major and minor municipalities. The last one is just a resolution for the staff to work on for the next fiscal year. I understand that's not something that can be done right away. My wording on the first one is effective immediately is for everything that was as of the close of business today, because our meeting started after close of business. Obviously, the staff is wanting to go home, so that they would have to do that when they came back into the office in the morning to fix that. But being someone who has posted YouTube before, I know it should just be a select all relist, and it should be done. So it should not take more than 15 minutes of manpower to make that correction.
Okay. We have Hilliker, and then, are you all set with your, okay.
Yeah, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, Hilliker.
I think my primary question was answered just now, but when I was looking at this, we're not looking at like retroactive, we are looking at current moving forward. Can I suspend the meeting rules to let him answer?
So ideally, the way these live streams are done is they're automatically in the YouTube hopper for the city, and they should be there until they are delisted by a member of staff or by a program set up for it. And all that would be is go in there and reset that, and they'd be able to go again unless the city's been deleting them off the YouTube channel themselves. And that part I don't know. That's why it was worded that way.
Do we know if we do that, or do we delete them off? I don't know.
I don't know offhand. I can just say that we do follow the Michigan retention law. We adopted that as a policy. So if we could, I would like to refer it so we can get an opinion on it, to be honest with you, because we do follow retention law. And if the city clerk can speak through clerk classes, her and I have both been through, this is kind of one of the subjects that come up.
The retention law that we do follow is it's supposed to be deleted as soon as the minutes from that meeting are approved, because that's the official record of that meeting is the minutes, not a video. So that's why back several years ago, we stopped doing it. As soon as the minutes were approved, they were taken down.
So from my understanding was originally they were deleted after a year because they were stored internally on city servers for a while. And then afterwards they were posted to YouTube themselves. And I know that there are multiple municipalities, and even in Michigan, that keep them up still anyway. So I don't know why we wouldn't be able to clone that, because it's something that's not stored technically on a city property. It's on a different service.
So we could reach out to them and see if they overrode their retention policy somehow, but that's usually not recommended. But that would be up to you and the city manager to decide how you wanted to move forward. But that's the retention policy that we follow says that they should be removed as soon as the minutes are approved.
You all set, Commissioner DeWitt? Okay, Commissioner Prince and then Commissioner Bernie Overshaw.
Yes, I'd like to move forward.
Well, Commissioner Prince first, and then.
Yeah, is there any cost to the city for keeping these on the YouTube page?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so we aren't really hurting ourselves by keeping them up. It's just, if we do, we'd be going above what the law requires.
We're going against what the law recommends.
It's a recommendation though, correct?
The retention record says that they shall be deleted, or I don't want to say shall, I would have to go read it, that they should be really deleted as soon as the minutes from that meeting are approved. That's the state of Michigan's record retention policy. So I believe, and you'd have to back me up, if we want to change that, we would have to submit our own record retention policy to the state of Michigan for approval if we wanted to go against what they're recommending.
I'm just having a little bit of a hard time understanding that because we'd still have minutes and that would count as our official record. But it would be against recommendations that were made in law to leave the YouTube video up of the meeting happening. That is correct? Someone should work in the state legislature.
I'm assuming so, just like any other warning label, something happened along the way, liability-wise, that it was not recommended.
Commissioner, I think just to get those questions answered, I mean, could we wait 2 weeks? Could it be referred back? Just so we have those answers and doing it right. I mean, we don't have any objection to it. We just want to make sure that we're following policy.
I mean, I would be happy to, I don't know what the correct, table this or refer back to staff, but it's not my resolution and I don't want to speak for the author of it.
Yep. So Commissioner Bernie Overshaw, do you want to make comment first? Do you want to see if Commissioner DeWitt wants to refer back to staff? It's up to you. Commissioner Bernie, do you want to make a comment before to see if Commissioner DeWitt's willing to?
I'd rather Alex talk.
Okay, Commissioner DeWitt.
Okay, so for clarification, it is currently on the table for vote. So I want to make sure I do this correctly and we don't have too much confusion here. If this does get accepted as referred, the first point would have to be effective as of the day after the next meeting, which is the 21st, correct? Like that's the only technical change that would have to be made on a refer besides the opinion of city staff / review.
Either way, we'd have to have a mayoral veto waiver for it to be effective immediately because they have 5 days to veto any action. So you can still put effective immediately and then request a veto waiver for it to actually take place if it's approved 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
So essentially, no, you don't have to change.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that before I say that, I don't put myself in a catch-22 and
don't,
get hidden somewhere because I did something wrong. Okay, I'm okay with the refer to staff to make us check that and verify. So
if you just want to withdraw your original motion and move to refer it?
Yep, motion to rescind previous motion to pass, to allow it to go to staff as a refer to staff.
Okay, so you need a second.
All right, is there a second? Commissioner Coakley.
Second.
Is there
Are there any objections? Seeing none, that has been referred back to staff. Is there any other business today? Seeing no other business, we are adjourned. Thank you all.